I'm always so impressed. Every time I listen to you, to your knowledge. I'm sure that you have a lot of, oh, it's all, I can put it on, but I think my voice, you hear me anyway, don't you? We're not going to do a break because we're running a bit late, so I'm sure you have some questions. I'll start with a couple for you that I already got, Paul. So just let me know if you have a question. We can't go on for a very long time, so we'll do a couple, okay? First, I have for you, oh sorry, I just need to find the question I got. So regarding this, so the products you're talking about, what evidence is there for any sleep improvement?
These products were not really designed to enhance or improve sleep. Having said that, there is good clinical work that indicates that AFRA, which is one of the actives in Viva, decreases sleep latency, which is kind of obvious. If you're less stressed and less depressed, you're going to be able to get to sleep more easily. And there's one quite good clinical trial which shows exactly this. There are other approaches to improving sleep. Palmitoyl ethanolamide, PEA as it's known, has similar effects. I wouldn't bother with most versions of palmitoyl ethanolamide because it's a rather waxy compound with low bioavailability. If you couldn't find something called Levagen Plus, that's a version of this molecule, which is one of the molecules the body produces itself, which has been made more bioavailable. So that's another route you can take. But many people do it once.
Thank you. When we talk about, so someone has a question about obesity and the effects the concept has on obesity.
Well, we know that increasing your intake of fiber makes you feel full and less hungry, but it gets a little bit further than that. We know that the fibers increase the numbers of a particular bacterium which produces something very like GLP-1. So it's almost as if you're producing small amounts of Ozempic inside your own body. It not only increases feelings of fullness, but decreases appetite. How effective is it at doing that? I really don't know. It hasn't been studied adequately. All I know is that I've been using these types of things, the precursors to the health protocol I've been self-experimenting with for a long period of time. And my weight hasn't really changed since I left medical school. I think a lot of aging does seem to be slowed down when you do these things. I'm not saying that I'm the best example of slow aging, but I do have friends who have the same age as I do and who look considerably older than I do. My blood pressure is still 120/70. My spinal reflexes are really the same as they were when I was in medical school. I can run 100 meters at about the same speed as I could at medical school. Having said that, I was never a sprinter, remotely like them. So that doesn't necessarily say very much. I don't get sick. I haven't experienced the rundown in immune function that people think is necessary, but clearly isn't. Because I've used the big glucans and cyanogen glycosides, which is what the immune system needs. I remember when COVID was first announced. The first strain was Wuhan. And remember how frightening it was? There were videos all over the internet showing people dropping dead at their desks or in the street. I mean, now that I'm certainly part of a scare campaign, there wasn't remotely anything like that going on. But I was in Russia, I was in Kazakhstan at the time, and I was on the last plane that touched down in JFK before Trump's then ban on international flights came into play. And when I got to the JFK airport, everyone was wearing masks, and some people were wearing full body hazmat suits. And they were giving all these warnings saying, don't touch handles or railings, don't touch your mouth. Wash your hands constantly, disinfect yourself every 5 minutes. I thought this is absurd. Princess, which was a cruise liner where there was an outbreak of COVID. And in this very elderly, immunocompromised population, mortality was, I think, under 2%. So I knew it wasn't, anything to get worried about at all. And I thought, okay, I'm in the at-risk group. I'm over 65, well over. And at some point, I'm going to encounter this virus. Why postpone the inevitable? So I went into the airport and touched every handle I could. And I got COVID. Worst, the most virulent, the lethal, the killer strain from China. And I felt, under the weather for 2 days. I got tested. And, they cast my mind back to the medical school. I had worse hangovers. There's no big deal. If your immune system is working well, if you have given your body what it needs to function well, bullets bounce off you. I mean, well, not quite. Especially it's dangerous to say that if you live in the United States. But you become much less vulnerable to the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. You become better able at resisting all kinds of insults and stresses.
So how does it affect muscle function, is one question.
The health protocol.
Yeah.
I think that it does affect muscle function because, I'll give you an example. If you were to do a new exercise, do you want me to take it home? If you do a new exercise tomorrow using a muscle group that you haven't worked with in the past, you'll get pain and stiffness in that muscle group, right? Delayed onset muscle pain. Well, and that's one of the reasons why the gyms will offer you a press membership for January. You make your New Year's resolution. You go to the gym, you pay your money, you do a couple of spins around the gym, and you're then crippled with post-exercise pain, and you have to go back. So it's money for nothing for the gyms. That's got to be abnormal, right? Just supposing you're a gazelle, and you're bouncing around with the Serengeti, and a pack of hyenas gets your scent and chases you for a couple of hours, and you escape, and you take a rest, and in the morning, you think, I can't go through that again. But you're a lion, right? In the wild, animals do not get delayed onset muscle pain. It doesn't happen. And humans didn't used to get it either. We do now because it's caused by excessive chronic inflammatory stress. So as you go through this cycle of exercise and muscle rebuilding and regeneration, it's impeded if you have chronic inflammatory stress, which means that you can't train as hard or as frequently, and you're more likely to develop different kinds of problems which will impair your physical performance. If you're consuming a healthy diet, which isn't pro-inflammatory, you don't get delayed onset muscle pain at all. So if you were to cheat, for example, and use the health protocol, and then one of these exercise mimetics I talked about, by the time the season starts and you get onto the running track or into the gym for the first time, you're already ready for it. Your body is ready to prepare. An increasing numbers of really well-known Olympic level gold medal athletes all across the different sports are all using the health protocol now because they've seen what it gives them. Viva is important here too because if you take a bunch of players or athletes who've got the same physical characteristics, which one wins? The one with the best attitude. Inner tennis, inner sprinting, inner running. So if you're feeling relaxed, confident, it's very likely that you're going to come out ahead. So a lot of these people are not just taking the basic health protocol, they're adding Viva as well. And I can't name them because I was sued into bankruptcy and beyond because you have to pay these people large sums of money to be able to cite their names. But I can tell you off the record, a lot of famous people are taking it, and some of the top football teams in the world are all putting their players on the health protocol.
And then, is there a link, or what is the link between? Oh, the Viva. The Viva is not on there.
Oh, the Viva's not on. Oh, wait. One more clip. I'm so
One more.
sorry.
Go again.
Here.
Don't panic me.
The moral So,
Yeah, there it is.
next question is, what is, or is there a link between omega-3 and tissue regeneration?
I think I just answered that question.
Yeah. That's good. I will go into the audience now with some questions. What I will say is we don't do any answers on vaccines, political questions, or personal medical history. So you know.
We can talk about the weather.
Yes, we can.
We got a mic. We got a mic down there. We got.
I'll just.
You actually need to take a prebiotic or the thing antibiotic is, sorry, do you need to take an oral probiotic and the prebiotic be enough?
No, absolutely not. I mean, Nestle, for example, we hate to hear you say that because there's a huge market of selling you probiotic yogurts which do nothing for you at all. And the reason why they don't do anything is because of a little something called colonization resistance. They're giving you a very small number of bacteria, fortunately, which have been grown under ideal conditions in stainless steel balls and positive and positive within an inch of their life. And then you send the plenty of microbes into an environment which is hugely densely populated by hostile species which know the terrain. So it's like sending the girl birds up against the Chinese Liberation Army. They get wiped out very quickly. And we know this because some colleagues of mine who did a study on this, they gave people probiotics and then looked at their fecal samples to see whether the probiotics were still there. And there was very little evidence that they were there. And the day you stopped taking the probiotics, they were gone. They don't take. You need to take prebiotic fibers which feed the few probiotics that live inside you and are familiar with the environment and know how to fight their corner. Down there, you've got different populations of microbes, thousands of different species, many of which have not yet been identified. We refer to them as dark matter. And it's like pre-Westphalian Europe, or the Game of Thrones, which is a very strong model of pre-Westphalian Europe. So these different cultures, these different species are fighting against each other, and sometimes they cooperate, and sometimes they displace each other, and it changes the overall balance with every meal that you take, probably with every mood switch. It's very, very dynamic, very turbulent, very chaotic. And that's why we don't even now have very much good data relating single species to definitive health outcomes, or even enterotypes. Far better to just go back to where we used to be, in which the evolutionary process supplied us with, going back to the diet that we were designed to live on. I'm not talking about necessarily intelligent design. And that restores a population of microbes in the large intestine, which we know from experience give you a far better chance of a longer and healthier and happier life. Oh, by the way, the thing about probiotics is they don't live long. You leave the yogurt out of the refrigerator and it's left in ambient temperature for a day, they're gone, most of them are dead. Prebiotic fibers are so robust, you can eat them as powder because they're deliberately designed to blend to taste nice. Or you can bake with them. You can make them into bread or biscuits. Or blend them into yogurt and custard. They're very versatile and very robust.
Thank you for a beautiful presentation. Just a continuation, so if my client, for example, has some symptoms of dysbiosis or IBS, would prebiotic fibers be enough? Knowing
Yes.
that, yes. The second issue, if possible.
Could I just say, but in some cases you might want to use certain ancillary nutrients as well. So glutamine may have a role in some cases. But go easy with glutamine. This is not something that you want to label into your clients indiscriminately because we know that it is an essential substrate for many cancer cells.
Thank you. Very good. You know that Zina is not a member of this International Fish Society for a reason that's better than for some clients, it's kind of a serious obstacle. So what would you answer to those objections?
I'm not sure I fully understood the question. I will say that these fibers are not the only prebiotics. We know that polyphenols have prebiotic effects, and in fact some of the polyphenol breakdown compounds may well be more active than the parent compounds. We know that fish oil has prebiotic effects as well. So it isn't just xenobiotic. These things are clearly acting together. Now how does fish oil have a prebiotic effect? When most of the oil has been removed to the small intestine, something's happening in the external, or I should say the internal tissues. And I think that the inner layers of the large bowel are being reconfigured in a way that makes them less inflamed. And And that has a secondary or tertiary knock-on effect on the microbiota in the large intestine. But I don't think that was your question. I couldn't hear it.
The second mission was more about certification of the fish oil, of the balanced oil.
Oh,
You know,
certificate.
Zenzina is not a member of this international fish oil society. Some people argue that we are not on the list, therefore it's not safe.
Because it's not fish oil. It's fish oil with a substantial amount of olive oil because you need to have the polyphenols in there. Fish oil on its own doesn't work, and it can be as pure as you like. And it has no effect. And it's not just me that says this, it's the Cochrane collaboration. Fish oil on its own doesn't really protect against cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, strokes, retinopathies. It doesn't do anything. Very, very little. And the reason for that is you need to have the chaperone polyphenols in there, which means we cannot sell pure fish oil. There's no point in selling pure fish oil. It doesn't work. What we do test for is antioxidative capacity. And we test and what we see clinically is a very dramatic restoration of normal tension, normal blood pressure figures, which fish oil can't do. What that means is that the emphasis that the fish oil industry puts on levels of, they do total scores or epoxide levels and all those kinds of things, it doesn't matter. I mean, they're like angels dancing on the point of a pin. They can do that to their fish oils and show them mine's better than yours, but none of them work. It's just not the point. It's pointless. I'm interested not in lab results per se. I want to know what is happening in my patients or my clients. And what we see routinely in patients with essential hypertension, once they start using this combination of omega-3s and polyphenols, within 6 to 8 months, they're non-retentive. They don't require antihypertensive medication anymore. I've seen this happen again and again and again. And everybody knows that fish oil on its own won't do it. When you eat oily fish, which is good for you if you're not eating fish oil, there's a big difference between fish oil and oily fish. I wrote the first paper of this back in 2016 or 17, I can't even remember, in the Journal of the Royal Society of Medicine. Since then, a lot of other people have jumped on the bandwagon, which I'm happy about. I'm interested in public health. If Zenzina wants to go down this road, great, but I want the other fish oil manufacturers to do the same thing. They're selling stuff which is non-functional and may actually be causing an increased risk of atrial fibrillation. Why? Because they don't use the right antioxidants. Their fish oil is oxidized in the body. It produces hexanals and nonanals, and these compounds have been shown to cause arrhythmia. So those companies like Seven Seas and all the rest of them, they should be put out of business. They're making false claims. Eat oily fish or a combination of omega-3s and polyphenols, which is what you find in oily fish.
This might be wishful thinking, but is there such a thing as a good sugar or a good sweetener or a good option for one of those things?
Look, it's okay to eat sugar if you take lots of physical exercise. Not huge amounts of sugar. I know that people don't like aspartame. I think it's okay. Sucralose, I think it's okay. Sucralose is just sugar linked together at random. So it has a flavor profile that's very like sugar. You don't absorb very much of it. Some of the stuff that you absorb might be metabolized in a way which might theoretically have some adverse effects, but the amount you absorb is very small. I mean, this whole question of sweetness is very, very strange because you think we taste sweetness in the mouth. We have receptors in the mouth. It's amazing to me that the same receptor is capable of detecting sweetness in polyphenols, peptides, hexoses. It's a very strange receptor. And even stranger, these receptors are all the way through the gastrointestinal tract. So they're in your stomach, they're in the small intestine, they're in the large intestine. You can't taste sugar, down there. But the receptors are there. They're doing something. And I don't think anybody quite knows what that is. If you're stimulating these receptors all the time and excessively, might this have adverse effects? Maybe. Theoretically. In reality, I think that switching to some of these intense sweeteners is probably better for you than eating large amounts of sugar. In an ideal world, you might think that we should discourage people from liking sweet things altogether.
Good luck.